Martinez. Devin is my music teacher and a very talented musician. He's played in many venues such as Whiskey a Go Go in Hollywood and House of Blues in Anaheim, and has studied music in college with an emphasis on jazz. Also joining me are my friends Zegna and Jason, who will host today's podcast with me. We're going to talk a lot about music more in depth and listen to Devin's journey and how he found music to be such a big part of his life. So, glad you can make it, Devin. Are you ready?
Hello, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be the first guest here of this music enthusiast podcast. Hope the best for this.
All right. I know you have great roots in jazz, and you've helped me not just with piano, but appreciate jazz music and the whole process of it. I think what we're all interested in knowing is how you realized music as a whole came to be and why you chose to pursue it. So, could you tell us a little bit about your first memories with music? Maybe what compelled you to learn an instrument for the first time? What was it about music that interested you?
Yeah, well, honestly, my mom would know. Coming back from the hospital when I was born, I was all of a sudden I was very alert when she put on Richard Elliott playing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." So I can't completely recall that, but it's like, okay, well, maybe that's something. But of course, you know how moms are. But I don't know. But I think that's what it was. I think my parents played a lot of jazz on the radio, driving whatever, and it just it's still in my brain. I don't know. I just started enjoying it. Became something familiar, and then over time, I just there's music that drew to me, and then from there, I had a little keyboard. I would noodle around, and it just came to you. It's hard to explain an interest. It just happens. But From there, um, I had parent. My parents also played in band in school, so that helped influence getting into that arena. Um, my sister's dad played saxophone, so she pushed me to play it as an elective in school. So that's what got me to kind of like, okay, I'll try it out. And then it just clicked. It just came natural to me, and I enjoyed it. As I got better, I just wanted to do it more, and yeah, it's been a big part of my life ever since.
So, was saxophone the first instrument you picked up?
No, it was keyboard. I had a little one, and then eventually my parents got me a bigger one, and I was playing that. Honestly, I might have just chose that instrument, but you can't play that in band. It's just circumstance. And then I just so then I so my sister mentioning saxophone, and then that became my instrument to learn like how to read music on. So that's when I took it seriously at that point. So yeah, so I stuck with it because like, wow, this instrument's I catch on to this even faster. But it helped that I was in school. But I could have switched back, but I really something it just came out of nowhere for me just to like develop my skills onto this instrument. And I don't know, something about it, like this connection between, you know, because I always kind of enjoyed singing too. I would sing along to various pop artists. Even Whitney Houston was a big influence. I just so something that was just like belting out. But then when I play the saxophone and being able to growl and all this stuff, I was very passionate. I always like to perform. Like I like to I even like performed Frank Sinatra just for the family. As a like 8-year old, just for fun, and I enjoyed it. So the saxophone, something like empowering about it. I liked it. So that's what got me to stick with that instrument.
Did you find yourself exploring much more music playing the saxophone or just playing any other instrument? Were you exposed to so much more?
Oh
Would you
yeah,
say?
I mean, honestly, it starts with school. Like they'll shows different music to play to listen to, um, and then that got me to open up to other artists. So I would give the credit to my teachers, and it just goes from one. It's just a spiral. It just goes into, okay, I listen to this musician, then this musician. Like it started with as far as saxophonists, I would say, besides some of the ones I would listen to on the radio, my parents would play like Kenny G, Richard Elliott. then it went into Grover Washington Jr. and then Charlie Parker, and then that's became like a staple of jazz. So yeah, it just went from there. Um, and then from there, you just listen to other groups along the way, other like big bands and other kind of ensembles. Um, but yeah, it really opened up the door to like various styles as well within jazz.
So you were already exposed to jazz right away to begin with. You were listening to.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, definitely.
And the whole Kenny G and Grover Washington Jr. That was sort of how I found discovered jazz in the first place. Well, first it was hip hop, and then I was listening to Grover Washington Jr. And then gradually I got into other forms of jazz and the more traditional. So that's really cool. How my own
Yeah,
teacher had the same kind of similar starting point.
yeah, yeah. And I also like it was like it wasn't just like I was focused on it like when I was young. I just it was a casual thing, just like how I was casually listened to like other pop artists of of like of the 90s when I was growing up. And then over time, like other bands I really listened to as well, like the Beatles, and a lot of the 60s 70s rock. So I was like I listened to a lot of classic rock as well. But then um but school really kind of like geared me into like, okay, this is like something I want to. It became like less casual, became something that I wanted to pursue as not something I had to, but just to get better. Now I'm like a musician, I feel responsible to want to listen more, get more involved. So yeah, it was how that went.
As far as
Devin,
Yeah.
Devin. So you mentioned that you took music more seriously after picking up saxophone. I just wanted to ask, when was that? At what age did you pick up saxophone?
Okay, so middle school, that's when I had elective to take, and then that's where my sister mentioned like, oh, like do band. I was like, well, maybe choir like that. So then I started playing, and then after 1 year, I got best musician, a plaque. I was like, oh, something's happening here. Like maybe I have what it takes. The next year, I got best in section. It's like, wow, this is cool. And so gradually, I started listening as I was. Again, the teachers kind of like showed me different artists and stuff. So around middle school it happened. High school went to even another level. There's just even more involved as we played at different schools and different festivals. It got more competitive. uh, but then it wasn't the only thing is like it became something where it's like I as I got into high school I started getting uh like, okay, I gotta get better, I gotta get better. It became a little competitive at times, which isn't always a great thing. Like so I was like, okay, I want to be the best, so I gotta listen. It wasn't until later, even after that, that's like, no, that's not, it's good to to have this drive to listen to more, just to be better, compete against yourself. I was competing against other people in a way where I wanted to listen more and get better. And I don't know, it's not always the best approach, but yeah, so definitely middle school, high school is when I started really trying to get more involved with like more more music around me to get better with my instrument.
Yeah, I understand the competitive aspect.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
even more so in a band, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, because there's different chairs. So like when I got into high school, um it got more competitive where there was a few people from other middle schools that were really good. So it's like, oh no, I got to get the top chair and stuff. So yeah, it was stressful at first, and that's the one thing that affected me even later on in college. It just keeps going higher and higher in level. It's like, yeah, it can be tough.
Um, so at a young age, like it was all smooth, and you were like winning a bunch of stuff, and then you found your journey at that point to be pretty easy going. But as you went to high school and even in college, you found the competition just in some instances to be dragging, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But
Um, yeah.
in a general like sense, have you always seen like the value of every practice you've done and just going through the motions? Was there ever a point where maybe you were thinking about, I guess, taking a break or maybe even quitting, or you just didn't see the progress or yourself going in music?
No. Uh, it kept happening. Like in high school, even though I wasn't like there's a few that were like up there, like, and again, I was going back to this competitive nature. Like good things still kept happening for me, so I never thought 1 second to quit. Like, and I just enjoyed it. Like it's just like band's fun, like jazz band, all that stuff. Like it was fun, and so I got first chair in the symphonic band, one of the concert bands for school, and I got a solo. And then I got a letter a year later, a scout saying like you got invited to Cal State Long Beach to audition. We like your sound. It's like whoa, like it just kept happening. So like I didn't think for a second to change. I enjoyed playing, and I was like, this is all working out for me. And it's not like it was just delivered on my doorstep. I did practice still. I just enjoyed it, and it just naturally worked out to want to keep pursuing it. So I never thought for a second I just want to stop playing music. I just enjoyed it, and I still was progressing. Um, so it was a great feeling. But I will kind of speed up to college. That's where I thought about it. Um, so what happened was, I will say this: when I did audition for Cal State Long Beach around my senior year, um, even though I did get accepted barely by like probation lessons, so that means they kind of like after one semester they'll review and see how my progress is, and then maybe I'll get like a bigger scholarship, free lessons and all that. Something happened where my grades didn't allow me. I didn't have like bad grades. There's just one that kind of kept me from getting into this university directly, chemistry. but but anyway, so then I had to put that on a hold. So it's like, oh man. So it changed my life, and but at the same time, I still pursued like the community college level, and I think that would be better costly wise, at least for me at that time. So it worked out. Uh, so then later on, when I was ready to, I got my credits for transferring into Cal State Long Beach again, and I was just focusing on that school because they scouted me first in high school. Um, I I didn't make it. I think because I was focusing too much on like getting my school credits out of the way. I didn't really, and I think I started. I mean, this was by then I was already 20, a few years after high school, and I think I didn't. I lost track a little bit. I wasn't always in band anymore. I didn't have that guidance, and when I didn't make the audition, I cried in bed all day, like just to just to be honest. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I have it anymore." Like it was fun in high school. Like I don't know if I could do this. And then with like support of my friends and family, like they said like if you really want to pursue it, and it's been a big part of your life so far, you love performing, like just try it. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. So I I stopped being kind of lackadaisical or whatever. I try to I made sure to do what I needed to do. I didn't have much schooling left to transfer. I made sure I went to Riverside Community College. I went into the jazz bands. Actually, my old music teacher from high school became a director at Riverside Community College. So he asked me to be in the band. And then I asked the top chair guy there in the music department, okay, who's your best saxophone teacher in the Southern California area? I went to Pomona. I got lessons from this guy named Dr. Ken Fork, who's a great teacher. He went to USC and he teaches at Vanguard University and Pomona College. And I would just drive there from Moreno Valley, like a 45-minute drive, and just be as prepared as I can be. And after that, he gave me lessons on classical saxophone and jazz. Then I made the audition. So the next year. So it was like, wow, see, that's all it takes. It's that simple. You just have to put your mind to it. And then it got me back onto music again. And this time it was like, wow, this is great. I got into Cal State Long Beach. I auditioned to a couple others, like Cal State Northridge, Cal State Fullerton. I made sure, I wanted to make sure, but ironically, Long Beach pursued me once again, or accepted me. So it was great. It was a great bounce back from that, that year or so. I wasn't sure, and I just had to kind of get back on track, especially when you're not like completely in school full time, or you're just trying to get through your credits. You could lose track. So it was great. It was great to get back on track, and then from there I did great. I did good scholastically. I did good. It was a challenge, especially by my senior year, dealing with recitals and all that. But I got my degree, and it was a great accomplishment.
I
That's
think
a
we
bit.
have a lot of musicians who are also studying in like high school in our audience, and I think we just kind of touch on the topic of balance between academic side and the music side.
Mhm.
And from what I heard, you seem to handle it very well in high school. Can you like talk about this? How do you balance the two parts of your life?
Yeah, yeah, it was tough. And I took. I mean, I'm being vulnerable here. It's okay, whatever. I did fail a few classes. I had to take summer school. It's just because I had marching band. Marching band took so much time. I had 7 classes: marching band, jazz band, concert band, and still a couple other electives. I had to do like culinary arts. I had to do this, that. It's like, oh my gosh, on top of like all the main subjects. It was tough. It was tough, and I was in like the honors AP, and then I had to get out of that. Unfortunately, it's like, oh well, I'll do what I can to get to the school that wanted me. Um, it was a little overwhelming, but I knew eventually if I put in the time, I could graduate high school. Like it was going to happen. It's just it was a little rocky with the music stuff, but I always prioritized the music first. I wasn't gonna drop that at any point. Um, but yeah, but then like once you're in college, it's like you have to really manage everything carefully, talk to the counselors with how you do that. I think what happened was I put a lot of emphasis on that first, and it slowed me down in the transfer process. So it's like you have to make sure, word of advice, make sure to balance it a little bit more less of what you're trying to pursue with classes. Um, so it's a little tricky when it comes to community college though, because you're a little bit more independent with what you take. At least with the university, they really hands on, like this is exactly what you need to take now. Like it's like, okay. So I don't know. So I kind of like I lost track of the priority there. I should have balanced it out so I could move on faster. So yeah, that's what was going on.
Could you give a little more detail into how you got like recruited, or like how some other music friends might have gotten recruited? Like, was it just they saw you at the recitals, or did you have to reach out through emails and like make a couple of videos?
No,
Like,
so yeah, no, it really wasn't much. In high school, what all I did was I played a big solo. It's called Cajun Folk Song. And very nice saxophone solo at at a music festival. It was for concert bands. So I played that, and then I started hearing people, and then even my teachers would mention that it happens. Like if you perform, uh, there's 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 judges, adjudicators that kind of like rate your band, but there's other people listening too that are you know that are people that are scouts for schools. And I believe it was this guy named Arnel Ignacio. He deals with administration with Long Beach. So sometimes they're just there at the right time. Just like if for sports, it's the same thing. You never know. It just happens. And so that's what happens. I know I know my friend played bass in jazz band. She was really good, and it happened to her too. Like at a jazz festival, I think a Reno Jazz Festival, she got recruited into to Berkeley. It just happens. You just play a solo. You have to stick out and do something though, and then from there you'll be noticed. Possibly, you just got to put in the work, and you just got to hope it happens. So that's how it happened for me. Yeah.
the time you spent, transferring again with your, you had to commute, and you were taught by that teacher. So you learned classical music. Is that where you learned like rock, Latin, those other musical styles?
Uh, were when were you? At one point, were you saying?
You know how you were saying how um, you went out to find a teacher to get you
Oh yeah.
back, and then
Mhm.
you were commuting there, and then that's where you learned classical music.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, because a lot of it was just band music, and it just wasn't enough. Um, we did this thing my senior year. It's called the senior project. It's a little daunting, but it's a year long project, and then you have to have a mentor. So I did start doing some bigger pieces. My jazz teacher was my mentor, uh, but it wasn't too serious. When I got my private teacher trying to transfer into Cal State Long Beach, he gave me all the ins and outs of like what are the important things to focus on. What do colleges look for? And he gave me just certain materials for saxophone. He gave me like these etudes, furling etudes that are like French etudes that are very helpful. This book on scales and arpeggios that like really good Trent Canaston book. And they just gave me like a lot of these big classical saxophone artists repertoire. We have Henry Eccles, and then he gave me a material for that, material for Eugene Rousseau. So a lot of those artists, he would just give me like pieces that are good standards for repertoire. You'll see it in college websites. What are the repertoire for auditioning into the school? And I just studied it, and he told me like how to approach it. He showed me the ins and outs of that. And eventually, I said I do want to eventually change my major into jazz. So then he gave me some pointers on how to improvise. Um, but I don't want to discredit. Like I still had some teachers at. I forgot to mention during the community college process. I also went to Fullerton College. And how that happened was, so I was upset that I didn't get into the school my first time auditioning because of my grades. But then what happened was my friends mentioned this other school far away, Fullerton. Marina Valley is pretty far from Fullerton because that's Fullerton's in OC area. And a few of my friends went there from high school, and it was like, and they said it was a great atmosphere, and it was just the junior college, but really great teachers. I decided to go there. I took a break after high school actually, so there was a little bit of lack of motivation at that point as well. So I guess there was two moments. Uh, right before was trying to transfer, and then right after high school, I did kind of lose motivation. So I forgot to mention that moment. But I still wanted to do music though. I just was mad at school and all that. Um, but so then I decided to go to Fullerton College, commute there, and that was a good hour drive. But it was great to see those teachers, and I got introduced to styles actually initially first there. Um, all kinds of music, Latin jazz. This guy by the name of Bruce Babad, really good saxophone player. He could really play out, and so I got into some of the jazz combos. As my first time playing in a jazz combo, smaller group setting where you play, just with the rhythm section, a few horns, and it's a little bit more intimate. You could just play smaller charts and then just improvise longer. Um, so I got introduced to a lot of different styles from Fullerton College. Actually, I just became more focused with like the audition process later on in my with my other teacher, Dr. Ken Fork. So yeah, there was a lot going on still after high school. It was just a crazy winding journey to get to the university level.
Sounds like a lot. And
Yeah,
those
there.
jazz combos. Who's your
Yeah,
favorite? Like one of your favorite moments in college?
yeah, well, it definitely was. And it was intimidating too because that was the first time where I was like, whoa, all these guys are really good. Like because they came from all over the area. Once you get to a bigger city, you're gonna run into I'm sure you would know if you go to bigger cities, you're gonna run into bigger talent. And and it was competitive. It was like, okay, I'm not the best anymore. But it was great. It was great to play with those guys and then share things and they introduced me to some crazy music I've never heard of before. Like, wow, uh, not just jazz, like just just crazy stuff, like kind of jazz, but like these guys from Norway, like Norwegian music, all kinds of different styles. But it was great. And then just listen to their all the other groups that I wasn't even in was a great thing. There's a thing called this class called Concert Hour, where you just go. It's a class where you just listen to people performing. They just want to get together, perform, or they grab other people they know just to play. That's a class. That's like, wow, that's cool. Yeah, it was a great time. That got me to still keep going, and yeah, it was really fun. So yeah.
Was there any like notable musicians you studied while studying jazz or just studying other music? Like anyone you wanted to mold your playing after?
Yeah, there's Joshua Redman and Michael Brecker, but they're tenor saxophone players. I just love their sound and their style. So then it was, it got more. I started playing Charlie Parker with my friends in high school first, but then, I got the Omni book and then got more serious in college, and then it went into Phil Woods because he just had some really good approaches, different arrangements, and his sound is kind of like is like Charlie Parker, but a little bit more more like he's still traditional, but he was just more modern in that sense, and the recordings were better quality. Also, Cannonball Adderley. I found ways to just get so much of his music, and my teacher Bruce Babad got me to get a bigger sound. He would have approaches where you just put a sock in the horn of your instrument and your saxophone, and just play the lowest note for 5 minutes straight, and then so then that, and then also listening to Cannonball Art Adderley got me to get this big fat sound, and so it was really cool. Really just focusing on those certain artists. Also, I've mentioned to you, Michael, that there's other non-saxophonists that I listen to that just I gravitate toward. It kind of mimics like my style of playing, like Thelonious Monk. Like he was pretty out there with his rhythms and beats, and I like that. And I recall going or taking a jazz history course, and half the class didn't like him, half the class did, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's like there's just some people that don't get his style, because he played bebop, which is a fast-paced music in jazz. So a lot of fast notes going on and a lot of different chords. But but even though his style was very, wasn't traditional with like classical, you would play with straight fingers. I just like his rhythms, his different offbeats, his different dissonances, which is like two notes that don't sound good because they're close together. Um, but but at the same time he wrote very beautiful ballads, so it's like, wow, he's very offbeat, but like he has some lyrical ballads. So I like to listen to that, and artists that really could compose, just like Duke Ellington, Count Basie. So yeah, it was great to keep gradually, as I kept pursuing music, just open the door to all kinds of music.
That's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
when you graduated college, what was your plan with music? Were you planning on like moving somewhere, or maybe creating an ensemble with other people you met to just tour around, or what did you have in mind?
Yeah, that's the funny thing, because I consider myself an introvert. So like, even though I like performing, like it's hard for me to get like people together, rally them, and then just start something. It's tough. It's tough to do that. But yeah, like I'm trying to recall like what was my plan. I think it was just to like, I guess that's another thing that became an obstacle. It's like it's not going to just come easily. You have to go out there once again to pursue something. So so I was just thinking like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to be like play along with friends during school, like try to like at Long Beach we had practice rooms. So try to find, do some jam sessions. Jam sessions is just playing together, improvising, play a few tunes you could collectively know, and then improvise solo. So do that, and then maybe like a group could stick. So I did jam a bit, but I guess I didn't do that enough. I didn't do so that's probably one big regret in school, that I guess I should have done more, and then maybe try to, like, even during school, try to do some gigs, like just ask around and get together. So unfortunately it didn't happen. And there's reasons too, like personal reasons why I didn't stay in Long Beach. I went back to Riverside area, and to be back to being closer with family and other things. But like, so that I kind of lost connections. I still, keep up with my friends from there in social media, but it would have been great to to stay there, get a group going, and then go from there. I know other people, some graduate students that are really good. They kept up with that, and they have their connections with people. So it's like, man. But I did have, like, especially like I mentioned earlier, combos. I was again doing combos in Long Beach, and I do have a few guys that, I just have like nice music connection with them. We had good music chemistry, and there's a guitarist, a bass player, and it was great. It was great, but yeah, I think I lost sight in that. That's the one thing that you have to do. You have to make sure to network, have your musical friends, to have that camaraderie, and I think I lost that element. So it's like, man. So then my plan was just to, like, okay, what I'll do, my private teacher, Jay Mason, who's a great musician. He's played all over the area and played in the Big Fat Band, Gordon Goodwin, very, very known artists, and even Grammy nominated. But he said, just, okay, what you could do is just you could teach, and then to at least always do something with music as to make a living, and then just keep trying to find connections with people. um so, and another thing is, remember my House of Blues gig that happened through my sister's friend from high school, and she's like years older than me. And he was a manager of this band called Ceasefire, and they're just a rock band. And that connection right there got me to play uh, a few times with them at gigs like that. So it's all about connections, find the right people, but then also play with fellow musicians and don't lose sight of that. And that's what I'm still trying to figure out.
How do you think collaborating with others affect your own playing, or just how does it affect you in general?
It becomes like a lifestyle. It's like you just I remember one teacher I had at Riverside Community College. He that's what he did. He had roommates that were musicians, and they would just play all the time together. It became a natural thing, and then once it becomes a natural environment for them, then they're more confident to share that and play out. It's like, man. And I should have took that advice, and I didn't do that. I didn't do that. But but that's how it works. It just becomes a natural thing, and you just become a unit to always like play together, and it makes it easy to kind of go out there. So that's one thing you want to do as a musician. So we have advice to anyone that wants to pursue music: have those people. Another example is this one saxophonist at Cal State Long Beach, very talented guy. His name's Peter, and one of the best classical saxophonists of that school. And he went on to get his master's at USC, and then he found someone. He found a flute player, and they became a duo. And then that's where they kind of bounced off each other, and they started, streaming music online and sharing their music. So it's nice to find those people. You just got to find them, and then eventually, you could create something. Uh, It's good, because especially for a wind instrument, like if you're a guitarist, you might pull it off, but like, or a piano player, you could pull it off. But a wind instrument, you need other people. It's like you can't just do it solo. It's really tough. I had this funny story where my friend from high school, he played bass, but he told me about a gig at, I don't know if you guys heard of the Mission Inn in Riverside, and there is like this retirement program, and they needed music. So I went there, and it was around Christmas time. So I played Christmas music, but just on the saxophone, and it was an awful gig. It was supposed to be for piano, and like I was like, oh, so so the person in charge was mad at the person that my friend that hired me, and it's like, what was I thinking? Why would I play saxophone by myself? Like it doesn't sound good. So it's like that. But but then at the same time, if you have the resources, it could work. I went to a casino one time and listened to this great jazz trumpet player, Rick Braun, and he did a great sound setup, very, very high quality. He found a way to have like this background setup, but it wasn't just a cheap like Band on the Box, I Roll Pro. It was really good quality, and it was just him playing, and everyone got into it, and it could work. You just have to put in the work. So so something I'm working on too with that, and just in case. But yeah, it's that balance of just working hard, trying to find people, trying to network. If not, then find other ways to get yourself out there as a solo artist.
Was it a similar story with Whiskey a Go Go? Because that place had history, like with a bunch of like well-known musicians like Van Halen,
Oh
Chicago, the
yeah, yeah,
Ramones. That's already a hot spot right there. So it would be
yeah.
interesting to hear how you got that first gig.
That's true. I did forget to mention this. I did have, so this was like kind of in between getting to Long Beach. I did have musician friends. My best friends. Well, my best friend is he's a singer, songwriter, and guitar player. So I did forget to mention this other part of my life with music. Um, Aside from like the band stuff, the band element to my music journey, my friend wrote music, and he would have me play keyboard, and we started a band. It was a rock band actually, and I really liked his music. We had similar tastes with Beatles and the Doors and all these. Oh, but at the same time, he had his own original music, and I would have saxophone solos every now and then. I would play a lot of chords. So that's a great example of, I did have my moments of like just naturally having my friends be be part of a band that I was in, and then you had our other friends were part of the band, and yeah, we played at different gigs along the way. So a lot of it was just like rock pop music, so it was that kind of style. But um but yeah, we played at different places, coffee places, and eventually he branched out to different cities. He sent out a demo, and and then they Whiskey a Go Go picked it up, and we played there twice. The second time we played, I already forgot the rock station, but but it was a rock station, and we did a contest. We didn't promote ourselves enough to win, but what you do is just get enough viewers online, and as you put a music video out there. But it was a great experience playing there, and it was fun. It was fun because I just really love his music, and it was great to be a part of that stage. And it was great to, being a big Doors fan. They played there too, and it was cool. So that was a good time. But then what ended that was just, a few of us in the band like got accepted to different colleges, and then we branched out. But it was a great time for the time being. So yeah, it became effortless having, performing in a band like that with your friends.
And
As a pianist, I really envy this kind of experience. I didn't get a lot of chances playing with others.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, I was just fortunate to have, friends that like music. I was in bands, so like I'm gonna run into people that like music, and and we did our own thing outside of it, and it was great. It was also great just to play at, if it was like a friend's birthday, we just play in the backyard and just have invite all our friends over and just play and make it a great time. So Yeah, yeah, I was fortunate enough to have my friends, uh, get into it as and love music just as much as I do.
Fast forward now, you've had several years under your belt as a teacher, teaching people like me, and I know everyone you teach is different and have different interests. But you teach many different instruments as well as many different styles. Some
Mhm.
might want to be more on the classical side, while others want to take more on jazz. But with your experience and just as a teacher, what would you say is the essential thing you'd want all students to take from you, if any, regardless of what musical process they take or what style they want to implement in their playing?
Yeah. And by the way, it's kind of it was a challenge at first to teach. I got like in Long Beach, going back to Long Beach, a friend couldn't make a few of his appointments for with students, so I was very nervous. He appointed me to sub in, and then I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like being an introvert, but it's like, but at the same time, it's kids. I get along with like kids. Like like I love my nieces and nephew, and I think my nieces are watching. So hi, Madison and Macy. But anyway, so it's like it shouldn't be too bad. And once I did it, it's like, oh, this is great. Like, but the problem is I'm very scholastic, I'm very academic, and like I come across as being strict, so like by the book, and so I had to make those adjustments. And then I realized over the years, I think the biggest takeaway is you just got to make it fun for them. You got to make it a balance, right? You got to make sure they're playing the right way to not just be random and just like random notes. Uh, but you don't want it to make it too you know rigid on the to where it's like it just becomes a chore for them. So it's just something I'm still kind of developing and finding ideas, and it's always great to keep getting better at that. To I've got to find that balance. So my takeaway is you just got to make it fun for them, but you got to make sure that they grow. They grow with what they're doing. You got to find ways for them to enjoy it, and a lot of these students have their own interests as well. So you just have to gauge what they like, and then make sure it's understanding for them, but make it fun. One thing that I'm trying to work on is that I'm still trying to figure out is how do I teach them how to improvise? Like, what's a simple way? Sometimes I do it and it's too difficult for them. Sometimes I do it and it's just too easy. So I have to find that balance of how to get them to write their own music, have fun with that. But you just got to find that balance of making it fun for them. Touch up on things in the book, but don't go too far into it because then they'll kind of lose interest. And that's happened with a few. So it's like, oh, so so that's the biggest takeaway. Have fun, but understand exactly what you're doing so you could get better from that, from the skills of playing music.
As well said. And that's an issue, finding that balance. I mean, a lot of teachers, and I've seen it personally. I have a good friend who plays piano, but he was thinking of quitting because he found the practice to not be fun, repetitive, and he just didn't like what he was playing. I think Jason, he had he was able to teach his teacher's students a little bit on music, and they didn't seem to have fun with it, because it was like a choice made by their parents, and there was no fun in that. But I could
Yeah.
say, like, from you teaching me, it's a lot of fun.
Oh,
So,
thank you, thank you.
job well done.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. It's like with what you do, but yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Yeah, because I mean and I see you get more and more. And I remember like just the first lesson, you're just like just kind of playing by ear a little bit and just understanding some things, and you've come a long way with like understanding more, like just more in depth with music and the style, especially jazz. And so it's been great seeing your journey as well, bro.
Hmm.
Isn't it just wonderful to teach such like a passionate child instead of like a child who is a student who is forced by their parents to learn music?
Yeah, yeah. I could never tell them though. Like I've had a few coworkers, like teachers, just straight up tell the parents like they don't want music. Get them. I'm kind of like stubborn. I want to like find a way for them to still like it. So like I'll do whatever it takes, like until they just quit. You know, like what's gonna happen? You know, what could you do at that point? But it's great, you know. Like I've had other jobs like that not are not music related, and like working in retail, like but I could never feel that way with teachings. It's music. It's like it's great, and like and it's great for them to like because you never know, maybe it'll stick with them and they want to follow the same suit as me and go beyond that. So it's like it's great. You never know. And if I teach them a song, maybe they'll play it for the rest of their life. Just knowing that is just like gets me to want to always teach. Um, so it's great. But I did get my degree in performance, so like there, the goal for me is to like always teach, but like still perform and do what I also love is to perform. So I would never want to stop teaching indefinitely, but there's going to be times where maybe things will priorities will shift a little bit and not as much full time teaching, but I love it. I'll always want to pursue it if I could.
And would you say the passion has to be there to begin with, or could it be discovered? Because I remember before you, I had another teacher, and I was interested, but just interested at learning the piano, just to see what
Mhm.
I could get out of it. And then I don't know, I had burnout, but something along the way changed. I got into jazz, and then I created the Music Enthusiast Club, like in 8th grade, and I loved that club, and that's why I'm continuing it now, with this whole thing. But it
Yeah.
led me to want to find music, and then so that's how we met, and that's how you kind of took me, and then now we're just practicing. Do you think it has to be there, or it's like they could, I guess, find it along the way? Like that's something you could teach them.
Uh, I would say it's easier. Like I could tell with people that just like it's okay. It doesn't take much. Like you just got to find what they like, and then once you focus on that, boom, it's easy. And then there's others that like, yeah, you got to have like some level of interest though. If not, like I guess it depends on the age. Like if they're young, they're just not going to understand, and it's just going to be tough. It's going to be a tough road. You'd have to give them time to want to come back. Maybe like eventually, I've had students leave when they're younger. Years later, they come back. Maybe there's like, okay, actually, I like music again. I kind of played it before, and I like this song. I want to go back to it. So it's just on their terms. Like I can't just force them to like it's their passion. Uh, but all I could do is just kind of influence a little bit and go from there. So it could happen. It's just easier if they really are invested, but it could definitely easily happen. You just got to see what they do. I mean, there are so many freshmen in college that decide to just not do music. They just change their mind. Like so many freshmen change their majors constantly. I I've seen it from the colleges I went to. So it's going to happen with the younger students as well. So you just got to do your part, and then but not worry about it if they wanted to change it. I mean, everyone has their own interests, so just don't force it. Just do your best, do your part with making it as good as possible for them or as appealing as possible.
As a teacher, with all these like past knowledge all accumulated at this point, would you say music has affected you and how you view life every day? Are there some like aspects, principles, maybe something even abstract? Because I know this is a loaded question, but anything relating to music that changes the way you do things, maybe hear things, approach things?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, jazz. I mean, I'll say it about jazz. Sometimes I don't want to listen. It's not that I don't want to listen to jazz, but like whenever I listen to jazz, like it makes me want to like, okay, I have to transcribe this so I could get better than these other musicians. It goes back to that competitive nature again. So that's why I like to go to like an easy, and then also it's just like soothing to the ear to listen to other certain styles that are just easy listening to. It doesn't have to be literally easy listening music, but like sometimes I just like to listen to like just pop music at times to take a break because sometimes there's a little bit of this element of being on edge when I listen to jazz all the time, and because then I'll hear the saxophone and then I'll try to like, because I took jazz improvisation classes in college, and they train you to want to like listen to the bass player only, the drums, the saxophonist, and then transcribe it, which is writing down what you hear and then play it. And you could do really good with that. But sometimes I end up like analyzing it a little more than just enjoying it. So it happens sometimes. but but you can learn to just like, just enjoy it for what it is and not think like, oh, is that saxophone player better than me, or is that musician better than me? Like you just have to learn to like not worry about it. And now I've learned like you just got to appreciate everybody around, that they're contributing music and not be competitive. It is a competitive industry. um After I graduated, my teacher's like, good, now you're competing against me. It's like, oh great, thanks for saying it like that. But you want to still try to find a way to just enjoy it, just in a vacuum. And but sometimes, I get that way. It just happens. You just analyze it.
Would you say anything has changed or progressed about you in music, whether it be your influence on your life or your plan for music in the future, like what's ahead for you right now?
um yeah, like it goes back to like family and friends. They see me as the musician, and they want to they want to see me go to another level with it, keep pushing. They see the talents, so that's greatly appreciated. And yeah, like also when I hear like certain music, like for example, I hear like soundtracks, like for example, if I'm like watching a movie like The Incredibles, I'm hearing the jazz bands in there. I'm hearing my saxophone teacher playing there because he was in The Incredibles. It's like, wow. So I would love to be a studio recording artist for movie soundtracks. That's a great, that's not the main goal, but that's one that I would love to do, to push myself to. And I know what it takes. Like it takes connections. I talked to that famous jazz trumpet player, Rick Braun. He said himself, yeah, it's networking, but you have to get yourself out there all the time. Um, and just, if you don't get yourself out there, then the opportunities won't happen. So I would love to do that. I am composing, and going back to other influences, I'm composing a mixture of jazz and pop music. And so I'm trying to get, and that's what's big right now, is streaming music, creating your own music, putting out there on Spotify, iTunes, Bandcamp, all those. So that's another thing I'm doing. And I want to, get recognized that way, to share music. And so that, studio recording artists. And then of course, it would be fun to tour. It'd be fun to like have a group to just tour with. It's kind of tough right now, but like eventually, find people. And I have my plans of like getting into like I'm into this Facebook saxophone group. And so if I really want to, I could try to pursue other musicians on social media, and and then get a group going as well. So there's different avenues. It's just what it takes is just more effort. You just got to put in the work, just like how I did to get into college. And but those are my goals for sure. You got to just push yourself to be one of the best. Even if it's like it's a crazy goal, like it's good to have those goals, so it gets you going. And I always want that for me. So I just gotta keep pushing for that.
That's well said. Amazing. Um,
Yeah.
Segna and Jason, you got any questions you want to add?
Right now I'm good. Maybe if something comes up, but I'm good right now.
And those tuning in, we also have a chat, so we have just about a couple of minutes left. But if anyone wants to ask anything, by all means do so. But wow, just seeing all that, and I never knew that, right? We were just doing, it was all playing, and then it was all about music, but it wasn't about, I didn't know anything about your journey until now. And then hearing you say
I
all
know,
of
and I've
this,
taught you for a few years, right? It
I
just
know,
like boop.
just all that. like Whiskey a Go Go and
Yeah.
your whole grind with college, trying to transfer, and then all the teachers you had, and all of that, led to you and led to this. Oh,
Yeah.
someone says, play us a song
Oh man.
if you're up for it.
All right. Well,
I see your weapon of choice, the saxophone.
yeah, of course, of course. Put the most work into this, so why not?
It's your personal favorite too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, piano's great, but it's just that combination of like I'm like singing through the instrument. I just like that approach, and then and there's more development there with it's called embouchure, so it's great to be able to really speak through an instrument like this. So, all right, well, I'll probably make some mistakes. I haven't played this in a while, but I guess supposedly the first song that got me into music. Why not? So hopefully it's not too loud. Let me know.
I think it's good. It's good.
Okay, I
I
gotta
could
hurry because
mute it a little.
my computer's gonna die soon. Okay, here we go.
That was good.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Hopefully the viewers like that. That was amazing. That was good.
Okay, yeah. Thank
That
you,
was
thank you. I
amazing.
appreciate it.
Wow. And so we're about time. So everyone watching, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us and tuning in. Devin, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us and being
Yeah,
a part of this first podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is great. I hope the best for this and keep it going. Keep it going with this. There's a lot that could really there's a lot of potential that could get a lot of people influenced in music and be enthusiastic for it. I don't know. But yeah, I hope the best.
I
Thank you
learned a lot. I learned
Yeah.
a lot. We all learned a lot. And
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it.
with that being said, guys, we're going to be ending now. So until then, stay tuned.